Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Was Abused and Obtained Mokuton, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to see more comment down village with a rich history. Yet, to Naruto, this was the home that has never learned to love him. A treacherous place within which he was born. He didn't see any of that glory. To him, it looked nothing more than a facade. A mask put on to hide the filth that crawled through the streets. Not in night time but in broad daylight. Naruto looked up at the massive walls. A prison for him. Yet he hoped to serve his term and be free. To be relieved of the burden he carried. There would be more responsibilities now. He may even now find himself sitting by the gates. He was going to get his promotion if things go well anyway. But Naruto didn't see any reason he would be denied that chance. After all, he was more deserving than a certain Uchiha. For Sakura, it would be a long journey. Whether she would break through or break down remained to be seen. Either way, nothing materially changed for him. I wish we were warned that being a shinobi meant the constant journey. Naruto said, as they passed through the gates. You can stay in the village, Kakashi replied. You just have to pick D-rank missions. A waste of shinobi talents. Disdain filtered through Naruto's mind when he thought of those nonsensical missions. Tell me we are never going to do those again. We are going to be Chunin now. Those should be reserved for Genin. I have go agree with Naruto on that. Sasuke said. We'll see. Kakashi gave a non-committal shrug of his shoulders. The streets were normal. There would be more joy spreading through like a wildfire once the faithful servants of the Uchiha prince do learn that their lord had bested everyone in the stone to return home with the crown. For him, nothing would change. Nothing had changed. He hoped today, the only change would be the Chunin vest he would be wearing while strolling through the streets. To rub it in their faces that even when they didn't think he'd do it, Naruto had done it. The Hokage office was loaded with activity. More than usual. They hadn't been gone for long. Unlike with their snow mission. The third still looked like a sage. His bright eyes, too much strength for someone his age, danced around each of them. A warm, grandfatherly smile on his lips. He'd stopped what he was doing, waved his right hand to dismiss the people in the room. Slowly, they trotted out, leaving Team 7 facing the Sandaime Hokage. Hokage-sama. Kakashi bowed, his students did the same as they paid their respects to their leader. Team 7, the Sandaime paused, once more gauging them. You've done the village proud. Between you and Team Guy, I believe we have the best of this generation. Team Guy, a freak in charge. Kakashi smiled weakly thinking of his eternal rival as Guy would say. They certainly were the better of them all. They did have a genius in the team. And Lee had become a literal clone of his sensei. The horror. But Kakashi could only try to ignore it. For his own mental and physical health. They graduated ahead, but there is no denying their strength. Hiruzen nodded in agreement. There were some who held concerns about young Lee over his inability to use chakra. But they seemed to have forget that Guy is one of this village's greatest assets. If you were going to pick the top jonin within Konoha, Guy was going to be there. The man earned his glory. Sometimes, Kakashi wondered if they were truly being serious, if he'd get out in one piece. Putting him in with Neji has also helped. Kakashi said. The Tsuchikage said he'd sent the report ahead of us. Yes, it did arrive. You took your time coming back. Well, there was no need to hurry. I thought we'd just get busy after returning. If things get along. Hiruzen shook his head, a rather serious look on his face. I did read the report. Naruto and Sasuke were outstanding. The Tsuchikage held some reservations about Naruto's decision not to participate in the tournament. I hope you'll explain that fully to me. The more disappointing report was on Sakura. There was nothing written about her. Sakura flinched. The Sandaime's stern gaze wasn't directed at her but toward her sensei. They were talking about her. Ever since Kakashi told her that she may get removed from the team, she'd not stood before the Hokage. This was the first time. After all, after returning from the snow, they'd only spent a week resting before being shipped out. She knew she hadn't done enough. No, she didn't do anything. Their opponents had targeted her because they'd viewed her as the weak link in the team. Getting captured had resulted in her teammates being put under a difficult task. She never apologized. But her biggest fear was getting removed from the team. This could be the last straw. We didn't have time to help her improve after the snow mission. We were immediately called upon to go to the stone. Don't judge her on this alone. If Naruto and Sasuke get promoted, they can be assigned to other teams while I work on Sakura. Hiruzen shook his head. She could have been killed. I suppose it was my decision to send you away knowing she wasn't ready. But this had to have been a valuable experience. He faced the girl. And smiled. You learned something valuable. Yes, Hokage-sama. Good. I expect to see some updates on how you improve. He looked between Naruto and Sasuke. Congratulations you two. You are officially Chunin. Return later to collect your Chunin vests. For now, you're all dismissed. Stay behind, Kakashi. Once the genin were out of the office, Jiraiya appeared from the window. I didn't think you'd gone ahead of us, Jiraiya-sama. The Sannin waved his right hand. I didn't. After I encountered Orochimaru, I stayed around. Wasn't sure he wouldn't do anything. He was also there. Kakashi looked surprised. But should he? Naruto told me that Kabuto managed to get closer to him. Do you think he is trying to make a move on them? He is. Hiruzen replied firmly. We have to protect them. That is why from now on, the two will remain in the village. Sasuke will be closely watched to ensure nobody gets close to him. We will decide what must be done for now. We can't take the risk of sending him out on missions at the moment. They might not return. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. There is also the problem of the Akatsuki. Intel suggests that they may be after Jinchuriki. Nothing is certain yet, but we can't take chances. Both Naruto and Sasuke need to improve. Naruto's potential was massive, but he couldn't be around Sasuke now. That would just drive the Uchiha insane. Naruto needed to train alone and so did Sasuke. How is Sasuke taking Naruto's progress? Kakashi let loose of a long breath. Not very well. Naruto claimed he didn't participate in the tournament because he didn't want to worsen things. I think he has observed that Sasuke's jealousy is getting the best of him. There is no telling what he will do if he feels he isn't improving fast enough. Kakashi did think that the Uchiha already knew about Naruto's secret. If so, there was no telling he wouldn't decide to join Orochimaru if he thought he could become stronger. With his mindset, there was nothing Sasuke couldn't do for power. Naruto has stated that he can't think of any way Sasuke's mind can be healed. He says Sasuke's lust for power is too great. He might sometimes show signs of friendship. But deep within, if provoked, he will decide power. The only way to heal that is to give him power. But according to Naruto, those chances are limited. As long as Sasuke can't activate the Mangekyo, he will never reach his full potential. Hiruzen leaned back to his chair. When it came to analyzing people, Naruto was rather good at it. Well, it wasn't anything he hadn't thought of when looking at Kakashi's reports. The difference was that he held some hope that things could be better. Yet, Naruto didn't inspire much hope. How come Naruto knows so much about the Sharingan? Some even older than Naruto don't even know about the Mangekyo. He said Orochimaru was obsessed with it. He doesn't know how the Mangekyo is unlocked nonetheless, Kakashi answered. At this stage, Kakashi didn't think it was even practical for Sasuke. The death of someone close to you? Jiraiya asked. Yes. The only person closest to Sasuke who could actually provoke that kind of grief to awaken the Mangekyo is Naruto. There just doesn't seem like there is nothing we can do about it. Hiruzen released a long breath. Either way, we have to work something out. Naruto and Sasuke will be sent out on S-rank missions. Jiraiya, you will be take Naruto to a zoo. You'll leave him there. I'll have a couple of Anbu watching over him. You can visit him if you like. Why a zoo? And I'd the one to train him. When you visit him, you can do that. But Naruto needs a place that is remote to continue with his Mokuton training. I gave him the Shodai scrolls. He said with enough training, he would be able to replicate. However, in this village, he can't experiment. A zoo is remote. He can be safe there. Besides, I think Naruto knows about his parents. Training in a zoo will be fitting for him. A zoo is his ancestral home. Replicate. Yamato hasn't been able to do that. Naruto already does jutsu, Yamato cannot. Kakashi was quick to say. It does help that Naruto has massive chakra pools to be able to execute demanding jutsu. I can't exactly help with Mokuton. Jiraiya was quiet in his response. He really wanted to be closer to Naruto. But he could still do that. Maybe he would go there to be the test the blonde requires. Fine. What of Sasuke? We will think of something. But we can't exactly send you out, Kakashi. They are going to be away for a couple of years. We want them to return powerful enough to defend themselves. There is no war, no threat to the village, we can afford to let them leave. You, however, can't be gone for too long. You are always needed in Konoha. Besides, by the time they return, we might have already made plans to deal with Orochimaru. If we do that, we no longer have to worry about him tempting Sasuke. I will continue to gather all information I can about his operations. Jiraiya frowned slightly. If there was someone who was slippery, it was his former friend. But they had to go about this. To make sure the shinobi world was safe. To secure Konoha's safety. And to protect the village's assets. Do that. It is important. Hiruzen faced Kakashi. As of this moment, Team 7 is disbanded. Sakura will be placed in another team once Naruto and Sasuke have left. Even if I reinstate it, Sakura will be off. You will inform them all immediately of this. Hi. Kakashi did not argue, seeing the look on the Sandaim's face. Hiruzen turned to Jiraiya. I'm hearing some unpleasant things about Tsunagaku. I hope it is nothing. Suna would plot something. Doesn't it heavily depend on us? That is the problem. But I have arranged a meeting with Rasa. We will see how it goes. On Sasuke's case, we need go manage him. We can't keep treating him like a spoiled child. Hiruzen blamed Itachi for this. The next time the Uchiha appeared before him, he was going to talk to him about it. There was no reason to make Sasuke turn out the way he did. According to Kakashi, Itachi had apparently told Sasuke to hate him. Maybe that was his way of trying to atone, but it wasn't doing the village any favors. At this rate, it was apparent that if the young Uchiha ever learned of the truth, he would no doubt turn against the leaf. He was highly emotional and seemed to be purely driven by his hatred. Maybe Danzo would have been better suited for his development. Kakashi said as a joke. But it was met with silence. After a moment, the Sandaime replied. Danzo would have made sure he learned to control his emotions. Or just kill them. Either way, he may have been a finer shinobi. But completely loyal to Danzo. No doubt would have tried to overthrow you by now. Jiraiya added. The third smiled. There is always a catch, isn't it? He turned serious. I'll try to get as much as I can out of Naruto about Orochimaru. And share what he may not know. I feel we are drifting away. And the only way to work it out is to be honest with him. You can speak to him after Jiraiya. You only came back and already it's ramen, Ino said, walking over to the ramen stand. She sat down beside the blonde. And stared at the 3 bowls already on the side, a 4th one being slowly savored. Naruto glanced at the blonde for a second and then stared at the ramen. Ino's presence wasn't hated. If it was someone else, he would have felt bothered by their presence, disturbing him in his mealtime. She was the only friend he had outside of his team. No, aside from Sasuke. Sakura wasn't a friend. And other genin he graduated with were just fellow Konoha shinobi. You have a magnet attracted to my presence. If you miss me, you should just say so, my dear Ino-chan, said Naruto in a sly tone. In your dreams. Naruto stared at her. I've only been back for a couple of hours, and already you're hounding me. Shouldn't you be with your friends, or teammates? Ino looked away. True, she had gone out of her way to look for him. But Naruto wasn't that difficult to find. There were 4 places he spent his time: Team 7 training ground, the Forest of Death, ramen stand and his apartment. If he wasn't in any of those places, she always assumed he was not in the village. Did she miss him? Not as much as when he'd been gone for weeks. This time, it was just a week. A couple of days. But it was her conversation with Sakura that made her hunt for the blonde. After all, her friend had immediately gone to the flower shop after leaving the Hokage office, without even going home to take a bath and change. And that was saying something considering it was Sakura. No team meetings. There are no other friends to hang out with. I'll have you know that I spend much of my time in the flower shop helping my mother when in this village. Strange, I always considered you to be the kind of person who always spent time lurking in shadows, trying to hunt for information. Perhaps to attempt to take over your father. How do you know about my father? I never speak about him and his duties aren't exactly a public thing. Naruto shrugged. I had some encounters with him. Of course, he didn't get to poke around my mind. I disliked being violated like that. That makes me curious. Aren't you always? Naruto finished the last of the contents in his bowl. He quickly changed the subject. Well, I can't say I am displeased to see you. In fact, you're probably the only person I'd prefer eating with. Not your dear Sasuke. Don't say it like that. Sure, I spend a lot of time with the brooding bastard. But that is for training purposes. And you know, he has no one else. If I leave him alone, you never know what he is going to be thinking. Ino shook her head. If she said there wasn't some lingering attraction toward the Uchiha, it would be a lie. He was still handsome. The only problem was his personality. Well, it had always been a problem. Obsessions just didn't permit him to see it all. Sakura was crying. Naruto released a long breath. He'd wondered why she'd bother coming to him like this. Now that the Sandaime had driven the message home and that he had made it clear to her that she was at risk, flashes of reality must be starting to creep in. She could only go cry to her beloved Ino. Who would she cry to in the team? She told you, huh? Kakashi had informed him of the news not so long ago. I'm shocked. I felt pity for her. Why would the Sandaime do something like that? I mean, sure, she isn't the best, but you can't just take someone off the team like that. It is called a team for a reason. Don't discuss that with me. If you have something to complain about, go talk to the Sandaime Hokage. Actually, I'm going to him now, we can go together. Ino flinched. There was just the raw hint of coldness in Naruto's tone. It felt strange yet somehow familiar. The blonde always tried to be bubbly around her. But he had those moments. She wondered, Sakura was his teammate. Why would he be like that? Sure, the girl wasn't the best person, but they were still teammates. You don't really care much about her, do you? Not really. Your honesty is hurtful. Naruto chuckled lightly. Do you suppose I should have said I care? Sakura has never been kind to me. I have always had to save her life, and not once has she shown her appreciation. Ungrateful, yes. Yet continues to be a burden. Well, at least the exam taught her a very good lesson. One she will never forget. Anything could have happened to her, you know. She is a girl, she could have been raped if they'd been perverts. That could have happened. But that is the unfortunate danger of being a kunoichi. You just need to be strong enough. Life isn't fair. Not everyone upholds moral standards. Besides, there are consequences for the choices we make. The situation with Sakura was disappointing. Maybe she would change. For now, Naruto could celebrate that he was now a Chunin. He could finally make the move to a new apartment. I spoke to her about this while we were at Iwa. There is nothing to add, he added. Good thing you came. I think flowers will be nice for my new place. You're getting a new place. Yup. Just for measure, I'm growing. My place doesn't have enough space. I need a bigger space. A secondary room I can use for other things. What things? Naruto just smiled. Lead the way, Ino, I don't see the third in about an hour. You'll help me pick flowers I can put in my kitchen, right? I've grown to love nature recently with my use of Mokuton. Ino certainly didn't mind walking with him along the streets. Even when she knew that some people stared. He liked her for that. The whispers didn't bother her. The glares were fine. She was the kind of friend one enjoyed having. A true friend. Maybe not. You could never know with people. He was conscious of the fact that even Sasuke could stab him in the back. Was he being cynical? We've never hanged out, have we? Ino suddenly asked as they walked toward her flower shop. Not. I don't think so. Naruto replied in a thoughtful tone. You want to hang out? Isn't that what friends do? Yeah. Naruto paused. What would he be doing with Ino? He was usually training or just taking a breather. He didn't mind the pointless chatter. He wasn't that of a serious person to stop himself from engaging in things that amused him. We can do that sometime. We could watch a movie. Maybe you could invite me when you meet with your team. I could try to out-eat Chuji. Though, I would probably lose. Movies. I didn't think you were romantic. There is romance in movies. Where does romance get involved here? Aren't we just some brats going to amuse ourselves by watching a movie? Unless, of course, you're into the adult stuff, Naruto grinned, his eyes firmly on Ino. I'm not a brat, says a child who lives in her father's house. They still buy you your clothes, don't they? Your mother still does your washing. She is my mother. It is her job. Of course, Naruto wrapped his right hand around her shoulder, pulling her closer. So, what do adults do when they are alone, Ino? Didn't you say you're the adult? You tell me. She didn't try to remove the hand on her shoulder. Even when they were too close for comfort. People would talk, but did it matter? Forget it. Naruto said. Wait, is your mom there? Yes. Is it proper to meet her now? I don't think I'm ready to meet her. We should wait. Actually, I think we are taking this too fast. Ino jabbed him on his ribs, causing him to let her go. Ouch, Naruto cried. Why'd you do that for? For a second, I was worried you were afraid mother would not like you because, you know. Naruto smiled. That concerned you. Yeah, she admitted. I know it's the adults. But mother is delightful. If you smile, she won't mind. I'm sure as long as I have no intentions toward her daughter, she won't mind. Naruto replied. You're being cynical. Mother is fine. You'll see. It didn't take long for them to reach the quiet store. The second they stepped in, Ino shouted. Mom, I'm back. Can you be any louder? I thought Sakura was worse. She glared at him. But a woman trotted into the scene. Gloved hands. She was carrying water. Her eyes fell on him. She stared for a moment and then smiled. You must be Naruto. Naruto faced Ino with a questioning look. She just shrugged. Ino speaks about you a lot. Ino's mother answered his unasked question. She said those words with a warm smile. You must see how she lights up. She left her poor mother saying she was going to see her mother. Ino shouted angrily. Oh, Naruto ignored the girl. A splitting grin settled on his lips. I didn't know she spoke about me like that. What more has she said? Just yesterday at dinner, she was saying that, mother. Ino shouted again. I should have known bringing you here was a bad idea. She groaned. Don't get along with my mother. That's not what you came here for. You want flowers, don't you? She was dragging him away as she said those words. In his usual self, the Sandaime was all jolly when Naruto walked into his office. Happiness. And the unmistakable look of a parent who was proud of the achievement of his child. He'd become Chunin. Hiruzen could celebrate that. It was strange. The third was much happier than he was. Maybe it was because he knew on practical terms, this wouldn't change the difficulties in his life. A step closer to his dream. What was his dream anyway? There were so many complex matters within his heart. It was all weary at times. But not always gloom and doom. He settled comfortably in front of the third's desk. And then offered the old man a smile. I thought you'd come a little earlier. The sun was already starting to set. Sooner, the night shadows would be creeping in. I got a little held up with Ino. She insisted checking a new place with me after we checked out some flowers. The young Yamanaka girl. Hiruzen wasn't going to interfere by talking to either the girl or her father. Some things were better left alone. Still, he was happier with Naruto having a female friend. Sure, they were still young. But it just showed him that not everything was lost. There was a future in which Naruto was laughing with happiness. You've become close to her. How is the friendship? Fine. She is the only person in this village aside from Sasuke that I can call a friend. And she is joy to be around. Her personality does help. Hiruzen nodded. At some point, I'd been afraid you'd never make friends. Naruto wanted to say that it would have been his fault. No, most of his troubles were caused by the Sandaime. Even to this day, he couldn't fathom why Hiruzen had taken the decision to announce him as the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki when he knew full well how people treated hosts. He could have lived the normal orphanage life. But there was none of that. He had ended up with Orochimaru while battling the ghosts that haunted the walls of the orphanage. Things change and Ino is different. After all, she does know that I'm a Jinchuriki. That just made Hiruzen's smile widen. Do you think most of those who know you will have the same attitude? I think so. It is only the adults who are a problem. For the young ones, it was something they were taught. And as they grow, they start forming their own thoughts. Naruto adopted a thoughtful look. I don't think I had a bigger problem at the academy in my class with other students. That is good. Very good. Hiruzen leaned back to his chair, adopting a serious look on his face. Our relationship hasn't been good over the past years because I've kept things from you. I should have told you. But for some reason, I thought I was protecting you even though I knew you were hurting. I truly am sorry, Naruto. You suffered a lot because of my decisions. I do hope you'll find it in your heart to forgive my actions. He third finished in a weak tone. Naruto didn't reply, even as the third paused to give him a chance to speak. His silence forced the old man to speak again. It was troubling. Hiruzen was filled with nothing but regrets. If things had been managed better, Naruto wouldn't have suffered. It was because of him. He was the Hokage. He decided for Naruto, and the blonde suffered those consequences. Hiruzen stood up from his chair, walked over to the window. He released a short breath and then motioned for Naruto to come to him. Once the blonde was near him, he placed a hand on his shoulder, and they disappeared into thin air. Naruto was surprised when they arrived in front of a modest house. He watched as the Sandaime walked toward the door. He stuffed his hand inside his robe and removed a key. He opened the door and motioned for him to follow. The house was well maintained. The air around was fresh. The Sandaime moved him toward the living room. They walked past it, and went to a bedroom with a large crib. Naruto felt his body tense. His intestines cringe. He was overwhelmed by emotions. Without the Sandaime saying anything, he already knew. Unconsciously, he walked over to the crib, and leaned over, putting a hand on the mattress. Some part of him wanted to jump in. To feel the comfort he would have felt while inside this little bed. His bed. He imagined himself, trying to eat his feet as if they were food. Late at night, parents watching him as he refused to sleep, wanting to play some more. Maybe even cry over his refusal to sleep when his mind didn't want to. The feelings. It made him smile sadly, a tear dropped. Hoping and wishing he could live this reality. But he couldn't. It was all past him. Beyond him. He could only wish while moving forward. The night the Kyuubi attacked the village, you were supposed to have returned here with your parents. But something wrong happened. My wife, and your father were watching over while your mother gave birth. Someone attacked. He killed everyone, including my wife. While your father saved you, the man went after your mother and released the Kyuubi, sending it on a rampage. We have all believed it was the Sharingan that manipulated it, but we couldn't prove it. The Kyuubi was just too powerful. I don't know why, but your father decided to seal it within you. Your mother had still been alive even after the Biju was extracted, she could still have resealed it within her. But your father decided. He was using a method that would have killed him as a result. I suppose he thought you could do without a father but not without a mother. However, during the process, the Kyuubi attempted to kill you to stop being sealed. Your parents put themselves in the way to protect you. Sealing the Biju saved Konoha. Naruto was silent. The somber tone that Sandaime used didn't make him happy. Against his urges, Naruto climbed the crib. He rested his back against it, his feet resting on his wooden walls. He closed his eyes, trying to feel the comfort. Why? Naruto asked soundlessly. I've always wanted to ask you why you would rob me of this. Hiruzen felt as if a knife had been put through his chest. He felt the pain. Worse, even he had come to realize his decisions were naive and couldn't really justify them. He smiled with frustration. Frustrated with himself, for his failures and many regrets. But as he had assumed, Naruto already knew. He didn't need to spell it out that his father was the Yondaime Hokage. I thought I was protecting you. If nobody knew who your father was, then nobody would target you. While a war hero in this village, many hated him outside. But nobody more than the stone. Hiruzen shook his head. I thought you'd end up telling someone if I told you. And that would put your life in danger. As if my life wasn't in danger already. In hindsight, I should have known. Hiruzen bitterly laughed. And I was called a genius. I allowed my idealism to get the best of me. I was always hopeful of the best. I suppose after experiencing the First and Second Wars, I changed. By the time we were on the third, I'd already seen too much and sought nothing but peace. He closed his eyes. Do you know Hyuga Neji? Hinata's cousin. Yes. After the Kumo incident, I didn't want war. Even though Kumo was wrong, I was afraid of war and bowed to the demands. Neji's father was sacrificed as a result. His life has been ruined. He hates his clan and nearly killed his cousin. One life over many, I suppose that is rational. But a weak position to take. Konoha is the most powerful. Kumo wouldn't have readily gone to war over it, but I could be wrong. Those are subjects I don't fully yet understand. Yes, I know I've taken many wrong decisions. I should have done better. And I may never get to correct some of those things. Hiruzen replied. Kushina Uzumaki. That was your mother. She was most likely the last of her clan after it was destroyed. And now you're the last. Naruto shook his head. I met another Uzumaki while at Orochimaru. Her name is Karen. Red hair. Special chakra. That is good. Perhaps when we raid his hideouts, we will rescue her. She wasn't being experimented on, was she? Naruto shook his head. No, she had special chakra that healed any wound. He frowned slightly. She seemed to be learning under him. Experiments. It would appear so. That was some time ago. I hardly think over those memories. More than anything, I just wish I never lived those times. He smiled. Of course, that is just wishful, but some parts of me think I can do it. I see. Hiruzen fell silent for a couple of moments before speaking once more. I kept this house in good condition because I always thought you would come live here one day once you've learned the truth. I just booked a new place. But at least I won't have to worry about rent. Naruto smiled slightly. Good. There is an organization that is most likely after Jinchuriki. We don't know what they want with them. But you're in danger. Because of this, I've decided that you'll be secretly sent away. You can't tell anyone that you're leaving or where you are going. Only me, Kakashi and Jiraiya will know. Sasuke might also know you're leaving, but not where, since he too will go away. While away, you will be training and will be returned once we believe you're strong enough to face even S-rank shinobi. To be away from humans. Ino, Sakura, Sasuke, and Konoha. But more importantly, for training. Now, that made him happy. He could finally be able to try out some jutsu that were too massive to be practiced while in the village. He needed that. Just spending time training. He'd never thought such a thing would occur. But such an opportunity, he couldn't miss out. He'd grab it with 2 hands. But, to be away from Ino would be sad. To be without her enduring and joyful presence, would really be a sad thing. Nonetheless, this was for him. He could afford to suffer this much, for his tomorrow. Naruto rose from the crib. Sat with his legs folded and stared at the sundial. How long? 2 to 3 years. For both you and Sasuke. Who will be with me? Anbu squad daily. They'll be watching over the perimeter and won't interfere or even speak to you. Unless there is an emergency. Jiraiya will come to check on you occasionally. I could send Yamato with you if you want. Naruto shook his head. He can't do what I want to do. So, he can't help. I see. Anything you'll require. I must be going somewhere remote if I'm going to be still and hidden. Where am I going? Hiruzen smiled. You'll find out. For now, settle in. Pictures of your parents were removed. They are in a storeroom. I have preserved even your family jutsu. And some of your father's jutsu. If you want to learn them, you're free to do so. I'll give you a month to settle. Sasuke slumped down under a tree. Tired as hell. Once more, he was pushed toward his limits. So often with Naruto, he could go on until he could no longer even keep his Sharingan activated. He not only fell short with chakra but with stamina as well. The blonde was a completely different animal when it came to stamina. His engine never seemed to stop running. He glanced at the blonde. Already, he was on his other training. Something extreme. Naruto did go all out when it came to training. He did do some risky things. Perhaps that was why his instincts were sharp. Right now, the blonde was standing atop of a pole. He was surrounded by sharp wooden splitters. On the other side, a clone was hurling sharp spikes toward him. That was not all. The blonde was blindfolded. One of these days, Naruto was going to fatally wound himself. Then again, the blonde healed in a rate Sasuke was envious. He shook his bitter thoughts and closed his eyes for a moment. Very soon, he wouldn't be doing this anymore. Kakashi hadn't told him the reasons. Not that he cared. If he was at a place where he could train without interruption, Sasuke wasn't going to complain. But he was going to miss training with Naruto. There was no better friend. He would have liked it better if he was going to be with Naruto. Of course, he never made such an admission to Kakashi. He could imagine Naruto's mocking if he said something like that. Wow, Sasuke's eyes snapped open. Naruto was suddenly standing just above him. It is rare for you to be without a brooding face. If you were always like this, you'd be a decent person. Sasuke shot Naruto a glare. There was always that dig aimed at him. About his attitude. Naruto had once even blocked his nose and eyes, saying his attitude burnt his eyes and smelled too much for him to bear. Sasuke released a short breath. What was the point of that training? Instincts. The sharper your instincts, the better you are at avoiding death. You know experience counts in battle. Sometimes, it isn't skill, but instinct honed from battle that saves you. I want to train my body to be able to sense danger and react accordingly, Naruto explained as he settled beside the Uchiha. He laid on his back, looked at the leaves for a moment. You want to try it? Do I look like I say this to you? A pity. I would have enjoyed that, Naruto replied with a look of disappointment. I suppose this will be the last one. You've already been told, yes. Yeah, you must be thrilled to be finally getting the time you need to train. Perhaps while away from humans, you'll come back an adult. No, you do need someone who'll teach you to rein on your emotions. Will be cool if you returned as an adult, Naruto paused. But I fear the only thing you'll have on mind once returning is hunting Itachi. After all, once you're fed with a little bit of power, your arrogance gets bloated and so does your superiority complex. Sasuke's look became expressionless. I know I have faults. It is more frustrating when you keep pointing them out like it is some sport for you. Naruto laughed. Of course, it is. I enjoy tormenting you. Still, I never thought we'd be sent away for training. Sasuke nodded in agreement. But we need this. It would have been helpful if we were together. That just slipped out. He hoped he didn't sound desperate. Don't worry, Sasu, I'll come to visit you, though, I didn't think you enjoyed training with me so much that you'd wish I was with you. I'm not wishing anything. I'm just saying it would have been better. Yes, keep telling yourself that. Sasuke ignored this. Why do you think they decided this? For you, I would say you're a flight risk. The village is stuck between keeping you here and wait for Orochimaru to pounce or get you to become strong enough. You're hardly a model of loyalty. Sasuke gritted his teeth. It was just the way that Naruto spoke that offended him. Konoha is my home. Then let us leave it at that. Naruto closed his eyes. Another presence forced Naruto's eyes to snap open. He glanced at Sasuke through the corner of his eyes. The Uchiha was wide awake. Had he taken a short nap? But more importantly, who was this person who was coming toward them? It wasn't anything normal. The answer came when the person appeared. He smiled. He could have become all serious. But this was a person he knew. Not too well. But he knew enough not to like the cripple. Even the Sandaime had warned him against the man. Besides, this person never saw Naruto when he looked at him. It was always the Kyuubi. Perhaps things were different now that he was a Mokuton user. According to Yamato, he'd grown around the man's hideout, learning and training under him. Until the Sandaime made the discovery and he was transferred back to regular Anbu. Danzo-san, Naruto greeted with a smile, sitting up. He glanced at the person the cripple was walking with. A pale teen. Unfamiliar. He looked back at the Warhawk. I overheard your conversation about leaving the village for training. The Warhawk stated in a stern tone. Overheard. More like eavesdropping. I suppose he is the one doing it for you. Bothersome. The Sandaime wasn't going to be particularly pleased to learn this. But at least they never said anything about where they were going. Regardless, I heard you. While I am pleased Hiruzen is taking correct measures, I'm displeased that you have yet to display any interest in using the Kyuubi's power. It is a waste for it to remain just dormant within you. I'm even willing to offer my help to teach you how to master that power. I think it is also a disadvantage that a Mokuton user is also a Jinchuriki. We can never utilize the two at once. Regardless, if we go to war we'd be lagging. Kumo's Jinchuriki control their Biju and so do Iwa. The same can also be said about Tsuna's Jinchuriki. On a strategic point, to have a Biju on the other side and a Mokuton user on the other side would be beneficial. But at this point, he couldn't do both. Well, at least that was what Danzo thought. If it was a matter of transforming, a clone could wield the Kyuubi's power while he ran rampant using Mokuton. It would also disguise as to who was the real Jinchuriki. People from outside don't know who the Jinchuriki in this village is, do they? No. Naruto smiled. Well, that was just perfect. He could always use a clone. It'd save him some trouble. At least until the truth is discovered. Well, thank you for the offer, but no thanks. Danzo turned to Sasuke. Nothing unpredictable. Naruto was close to the Sandaime, obviously, he would refuse his help. But Sasuke was a different matter. With power, the Uchiha could be tempted. By this age, Itachi already had a fully matured Sharingan. You have the capacity and skill. If you'd been given to me, I would have already helped you awaken even the Mangekyo. you'd be a lot closer to achieving your dream. This can still be achieved. I can still help you. What do you know about the Mangekyo? I know enough. Itachi once served under me, after all. Danzo replied. But before he could say anything, an Anbu dropped in front of him. Danzo-sama, Hokage-sama has directed you to leave the two alone, now. We have been authorized to use force if necessary. Danzo glared for a moment. You heard me. Sai will be in contact. And with that, the Warhawk turned away and left, Sai along with him. The Anbu disappeared as well. Naruto released a long breath. I'm surprised you remained chilled even when he spoke about Itachi. Sasuke ignored this. Who is he? A relic of the past. A man who loves power. You could say a man who moves things in the darkness. Naruto paused. The Mangekyo Sharingan, eh? Sasuke was silent. Before he fled, Itachi told me where to find the secret of awakening the eyes. He said without eyes like his, I could never kill him. Sasuke spoke with anger. Grief. The death of someone you value dearly. Truly, the Uchiha are emotional beings and the Sharingan loves dark things. Naruto shook his head. So, for you to possess eyes that do amazing things, you need to kill me. Yes, Sasuke answered. But I'm not my brother. I won't go down that path. I will do things my way. You could have just said, I can't bring myself to kill my only friend. Don't be full of yourself. Killing that man is the only thing I desire. And no one is going to stand in my way. Not even you, Naruto. Young, yet so damaged. Sometimes I think there won't be hope for you. Well, that is life. Naruto stood up. Don't lag behind. Give it your all. Because if you do it half-heartedly, you won't be able to stand on my shadow. I can say the same thing to you. That would be a warning. If only you trained far harder than me. But that is not quite true, is it? You must at least match my training. The Sandaime was surrounded by a couple of scrolls, his pipe in his mouth. Kakashi sat in front of the aged Hokage, legs folded. The room was being watched by Anbu. No one would eavesdrop their conversation since they were discussing top-secret things. Danzo appeared before Naruto and Sasuke while they were training. The third said in a tired tone. He removed his pipe, placed it beside him and opened one scroll. He was offering help to both. I'm only surprised it took him this long to make a move. Kakashi replied. He has been content with just watching. Must have heard about what is coming next. That was most likely the case. Kakashi would loathe to have the man close to any of his students. He was corrupting. But admittedly, if there was someone who could have ensured that Sasuke had better control over his emotions, it was the War Hawk. I have sorted him nonetheless. Hiruzen added. He lifted his eyes and looked at Kakashi. Have you spoken to Naruto, yet? The Jonin shook his head. Not about the other things. I spoke to him. He is at his father's house. When you go to him, do talk to him about Minato, if he asks. I'm afraid if you didn't already teach him the Rasengan, things would have been difficult for you. Kakashi nodded. But he'd not done that in honor of his sensei. He had been forced because he had taken Sasuke under his wing. He taught the Uchiha his jutsu. Naruto didn't have much then. He wasn't using Mokuton in the same way as now. To balance things, he'd shown Naruto the basics. To say he even taught the blonde would be misleading a little bit. Naruto's understanding of jutsu was good. If he was going to spend more time alone just for training, his understanding was going to be supreme. How did he take it? Not with surprise. He already knew. How, isn't something I discussed with him. And why he never said anything. Some things are better left unsaid. Hiruzen sighed. Honestly, he wished they'd discussed things a bit. But the time wasn't right. He would have ruined the mood. I know that. Kakashi replied, earning a look from the Hokage, but he just shook his head slightly. Have you decided on Sasuke? I will have two of my Anbu train him when you're not around to watch him. When it comes to emotional control, they are best suited for this. He paused, wondering if he should try to get in touch with Itachi. He worried that if Sasuke ever learned of the truth, he'd react negatively. After all, there was much hatred within him. If he stopped directing it toward Itachi, he would direct it elsewhere and Konoha would most likely be the subject. He hoped things wouldn't come to this. Once more, Hiruzen couldn't really understand why Itachi set Sasuke on a path of hatred. Things could have been different. He could have looked at things differently. But they both made blunders. That will indeed help him. I'm gathering scrolls on lightning and fire style jutsu for him. You will still show him the ropes when necessary. He paused. What is Naruto's element? Kakashi smiled a little sheepishly. I don't know. Hiruzen stared sternly for a second before shaking his head with disappointment. Minato would be disappointed. You have utterly failed in your attempt to be a sensei. At this stage, Naruto is a chunin and yet you don't know his natural affinity. I didn't think he needed it. You always don't think they need something. I don't need to lecture you on how unkind the shinobi world is, Kakashi. Just because we are not at war now doesn't mean there won't be anything tomorrow, he smiled sadly. I suppose I have no right to lecture you having started with this by changing things at the academy. The standards have really dropped. We have been living in peace. Not Shinobi Nation appears to have an appetite for war. Not so long ago, Kumo was threatening war. No doubt, if that happened, others would have taken advantage of the situation. We are constantly at odds with other nations. Hiruzen folded the scroll he was looking at and then threw it at Kakashi. What have you decided for Sakura? I imagine even if Team 7 is disbanded, you're not going to abandon her. With her chakra levels and weak stamina, she is best suited for either genjutsu or medical ninjutsu. Her chakra control is perfect, which does make her ideal for genjutsu. I'll have her meet with Kurenai and then Shizune-san. Excellent. Hiruzen smiled. Naruto had been trying to learn with her. How has that gone? There hasn't been time for him to sit through with her. But from what I know, she has briefed him on the fundamentals. Someone people would call this intrusion. Naruto said without looking up from the kitchen table. There were a couple of scrolls littered, 3 bowls on the side. Jiraiya folded his arms and paused, wondering if he should stop or continue. After a moment of hesitation, he walked toward Naruto and pulled a chair. He sat across, eyes lingering on the scrolls. The ones that were open. There was one on Mokuton. He saw 2 more with strange markings. Was it Fuinjutsu? His eyes halted on the one folded covered by a gold thread. He knew that scroll. Many would kill to possess such a copy. I knocked at the door and there was no answer. The Sannin finally responded. It means nobody is home or we are too busy. I can see you're busy. I didn't think you held any interest in Fuinjutsu. A difficult task for anyone. There weren't any Fuinjutsu masters in the village. Kushina and Minato had been. The Sandaime knew the art. But it wasn't something that was even taught in the academy. Who even wanted to study the complex art of Fuinjutsu anyway? The kids of today were much more focused on flashy ninjutsu and clan techniques, forgetting that without the art of sealing, certain things wouldn't even be possible. It never came to mind. But it is because of Fuinjutsu that I'm a Jinchuriki. I'm not interested in all that. I've found myself drawn into barriers. He doubted he could ever do it in the same way as his mother. She was especially helped by her chakra chains. Perhaps as her son, he could do the same. That remained a mystery for now. What was obvious was that his mother was much more skilled with Fuinjutsu than his father was. He wasn't interested in all the deep details. He needed to learn just enough. But perhaps if he was going to call his children Uzumaki, it would be best to revive the family tradition. I'm a Fuinjutsu master myself. Jiraiya offered with a grin. I can teach you if you want. Naruto glanced at the Sannin and then released a long breath. He smiled. It is truly difficult to be my usual happy self around you. Jiraiya frowned deeply. Do you dislike me? Naruto shook his head. There is no reason to. I don't know, I just want to be serious. My instinct tells me as much, though, you can't be called a serious person. Perhaps one day, I'll be free. So, he just wasn't free around him. Was it the way he looked at him? Was it the unanswered questions? Jiraiya couldn't tell. Perhaps I'll ask you to help me one day. If Naruto couldn't use things like his mother, he could use Mokuton. The timber used to make wooden lock wall was hard enough to almost withstand anything. But it had its disadvantages. Perhaps he didn't necessarily need barriers. Maybe he was overthinking things. He glanced at the Sannin, seeing a somewhat surprised look. He smiled sadly. It isn't you, it is me. You're actually a very nice person. I know that. You're a bit carefree. But you know, I have some mental issues that I struggle to deal with. Therefore, I say, perhaps one day, I'll trust you enough that I'll be able to be free. Trust, huh? Yeah, Naruto nodded. What can I do for you? Please let not be that talk about how you were my father's sensei and my godfather. I have no interest in that. That is the past. I'm looking forward to the future. You're not even going to hear my apologies. Despite being your godfather, I didn't do anything for you. Minato was like a son, yet I did nothing for you. Jiraiya said in anger, over himself for his failure to help Naruto in his time of need. Naruto stared at the scroll. His father's barrier was unique. Perhaps because it included the study of space-time. Naruto didn't have that time to delve deep onto those mysteries. But maybe he could focus on it as time goes on. There was no need to pile all things at once. It would just overwhelm him. He folded the scroll, pulled another one. You did nothing for me. But I never expected anything from you. A child, yes. But you're not my grandparent. Dwelling on the past does nothing but make you feel bitterness. I have enough of that. If you want to work over your guilt, go do it alone. I refuse to speak to the Sandaime on such issues because of the same reason. I don't care for your guilt. It doesn't improve things for me. You would rather we die with our guilt. Naruto faced the Sannin with an amused look. I said I don't hate you, but I won't entertain any talks. If you're gonna keep your regrets, keep them. That is for you. If you need psychological help, the village does offer such help. His smile slipped. I have my own issues to deal with. Mental scars that refuse to go away. Then, what else can I do for you? Jiraiya was silent. Basically, Naruto wasn't going to let him get over his feelings by talking to him. He didn't want anyone to dump their problems on him because he had his own issues. What do you say about Sage Jutsu? Have you changed your mind? Yes, I have. Jiraiya grinned happily, but Naruto raised his hand to keep the Sannin from saying anything. I won't sign the contract. Sage Jutsu will be achieved. I told you I'm looking at the Shodai method. I will learn the mystery. He shook his head. Did you know that there is a clan that is born with the natural ability to harness natural energy? This was a first Jiraiya was hearing. He always assumed that each summoning had its own ways to teach Sage Jutsu. It was basically the same thing. Just taught under different instructions. What is this clan? Not sure, I don't recall. A lot of the time, I was around Kabuto and Orochimaru. Of course, I always strapped in a bed. That does remind me, Orochimaru is also a sage. But because of his jutsu to switch bodies, he can't use it. None of his hosts are strong enough. That was a lot Naruto had just said. Orochimaru a sage. That was shocking. But more troubling was that Naruto had no desire to sign the Toad contract. Should he push it? Jiraiya shook his head. I will give it to you for safekeeping. If anything does happen to me, can I trust you will give it to someone? Jiraiya said in a sad tone. I'm likely to die without any student at this rate. But I don't want the contract to be lost with me. Naruto released a long breath. Where do I sign? Huh. The contract. Jiraiya was speechless. He got over it and then replied. This makes it easier. If you sign the contract, it will be easier to take you to the place you're going. The toads will reverse summon you. It will reduce the risk of you being seen. And the Anbu. They've already left. You really wanted me to go that way, but wouldn't ask in that way. You're too kind, Jiraiya. The night stars dazzled the night with flickers of light. A full moon that brightened the world below it. In such nights, where a cool breeze toured the streets, Naruto always found some comfort. To be out, at night, lying on the rooftop or strolling through the streets. It was a special moment for him. To enjoy the quietness, the peace of the night. But these days, there was much to ponder. His dreams, his goals. In returning to the Leaf, he would be bigger. He would be grown. A shinobi marching toward his prime years. Yo, the nonchalant voice of his sensei. Naruto didn't turn his eyes toward the Jonin, he kept his unrelenting staring contest with the stars. He felt the Jonin sit beside him but still did not say a word. Last time I was sitting on this place was when your mother was still carrying you. Kakashi spoke in a silent tone, reminiscing those unpleasant days he was going through the motions. He'd lost everyone, and things changed for the worst when his sensei ended up dying. Checking on things. Kakashi shook his head. It was a difficult time in my life. Your father had me in charge of protecting your mother. When the truth comes out, conversations that never seemed likely started to happen. The world was cruel. Lies did no one any benefit. Secrets could break. Yet, he understood, sometimes, it was of importance to keep them. It was just often, People were not prepared to deal with the consequences of their lies and secrets. Ah, so the gloomy cloud that follows you around has been with you for a while now. Yeah, but I think I've gotten better. Naruto shook his head. Everyone seems to have regrets. People are so weighed by the guilt and past actions that they cannot enjoy their present. I find that truly sad. No matter what I do, or how much I regret, I don't want to end up being like you people. Because of your guilt, you end up being blind to the present and focusing too much on the past. The Sandaime is haunted by his mistakes. I saw how haunted he was when I was returned to the village. In his words, he was to blame. Had he done what was necessary, Orochimaru would have been dead already. Naruto would not allow such restraints on his life. His life was already miserable. He wasn't going to allow the hate to shackle him. He would not become the slave of his past. He would conquer this hate. He would move on and enjoy his life, one way or the other. What good was sitting down and allowing your heart to be wrecked by guilt and regrets? It is not as simple. When Orochimaru fled the village, the Sandaime had the chance to stop him. But he couldn't. He couldn't kill the student he'd loved so much. And now many innocent people suffer because of it. Sensei, do you know what happens in Orochimaru's hideouts? He kidnaps people, shinobi and civilians, performing experiments on them. Some are not lucky, they become deformed monsters. Some are lucky enough to die. Kakashi closed his eyes, trying to shut the memories of what he saw in the hideout when they led the assault to find Naruto. He'd seen what Naruto was saying. People imprisoned, starving and some just begging to be killed. Konoha is making plans to move against Orochimaru. Jiraiya-sama will gather intelligence and we will assault his hideouts. We will remove him. Now that is a hunt I would enjoy. It had become obvious to Kakashi that there was no one that Naruto hated more than Orochimaru. And the blonde doesn't hesitate to talk about his desire to see the Sannin die a horrible death. I came to tell you that I'll be gone by morning with Sasuke. I will be with him until he settles. Unlike you, he will probably be moving around. I wish you luck in your training. And hopefully, you will become a shinobi that will have surpassed me when you return. Kakashi said earnestly, with an eye smile. Now, when you speak like that, I'm left without words to say. But thank you, Sensei. You have always been kind to your students. Your words will forever be with us. I just hope Sasuke doesn't forget your lessons. Kakashi stared into the sky for a moment. That is something we all hope. The last people Naruto expected to see were Sakura and Ino. For the former, he thought she'd be busy doing her training or whatever she found fancy these days. With Ino, it was another different matter. Either way, he'd kept to himself in the past days. The Tsuchikage could have come here and he wouldn't even have known about it. It was no bragging matter, but Naruto felt as if he'd become a scholar. Perhaps the hard task of trying to understand the fundamentals over Fuinjutsu was an attempt to try to get closer to his mother. There would be no reward with seeing her, of course. The dead did not come back to life. The sad story of this world. He sighed, still standing at his door as the two girls looked at him curiously. What is with that look? Ino questioned, her hands on her waist, cheeks puffed. We bothered coming to visit you and you look at us like we're nuisance. Naruto smiled. He expected nothing less from Ino. She never did hesitate to speak her mind. On the other hand, Sakura was fidgeting about something. How they found him was easy to deduce. Sakura must have heard from Kakashi and most likely didn't want to come on her own, considering things. Answer, she dragged Ino with her. No doubt, the Yamanaka jumped to the chance to come to his house. And if I'm canceling this friendship. And we'll see who will bother talking with you. Ino huffed. For some reason, she looked cute doing all that. Of course, she was saying that, but she wasn't going to go. There were unanswered questions. I'd be broken if you cancelled me, Ino. You know you're my only precious people. Then let us inside. Naruto didn't. He faced Sakura. It was rather strange seeing her all mute. She was a loud person. She always had an opinion over something. Well, who stole your tongue? Be gentle. Ino cautioned. She is feeling down since Sasuke left for some secret mission without saying a word to her. Oh, Naruto appeared to sympathize. A pity. I would also be saddened if my crush suddenly just disappeared. You don't even know where he went or if he's busy chilling with another girl wherever he is, Naruto said, moving out of the way for the two to enter the house. After stepping in, Ino scoffed. Yeah, like Sasuke is that kind of person. I'd be more believable if it was you. Chuckling lightly, Naruto replied. Well, it is difficult to see Sasuke being cozy. He is rather inflexible. I, on the other hand, am a delight who gets along with people. Well, except for those crazy for the Uchiha prince. He led the girls to his lounge. Ino whistled, seeing the large, and very clean space. The place was just too good to be Naruto's. It was too elegant, and there was nothing elegant about Naruto. You surely know how to keep a place clean, Uzumaki. Ino didn't sit around, but kept her eyes lingering, but she didn't find anything. After a moment, she sat beside Sakura, and faced Naruto. It was only then that she realized that he looked tired. This is a first. I've never seen you tired. I'm working myself a little too hard and can't get enough sleep. Naruto released a yawn. What can I do for you today? You wanna tell me why you didn't say anything about having a house? Last time I checked, you were getting flowers for your new apartment. Which I saw. There was nothing about a house when we last spoke. I didn't know I had a house then, said Naruto with an indifferent shrug of his shoulders. I've been hiding well enough. Kakashi-sensei, he asked Sakura. She nodded. He told me you were at your parents' house when I last spoke to him. He said he was also leaving but would be back soon. The Jonin hadn't been forthcoming about Naruto's parents. He said it was something Naruto had to tell himself. Either way, she had been shocked to learn of this revelation. She had always made fun of the fact that Naruto didn't have parents. The last time Sasuke had responded negatively had been the last time, but still, to think that there were people who had given birth to Naruto and they had left him a house, it was hard to process. I see. An awkward silence filled the room. Sakura broke it. I've been seeing Kurenai-sensei, learning some genjutsu. Kakashi-sensei also planned for me to learn medical ninjutsu. I guess I'll choose which one to specialize in once I've come to understand both. Naruto nodded but said nothing, earning a glare from Ino. He just smiled and waved her off. I came to apologize for the way I have treated you. Ino made me realize I was never fair to you. I should have been a better teammate, but I was not, she said with a sad smile, looking at him straight into his eyes. I'm also glad you know who your parents were. Naruto clasped his hands together. Now, that is some genuine feeling about that. Not that hollow apology you gave the other day. You don't have to shove this one up your behind. I hear you, but forgiveness isn't given that easily, Sakura. You were a crappy teammate. A nuisance to be around. But I suppose I must accept that you are growing as well. I will earn it, Sakura replied confidently. I just came for that. She seemed to have lightened up a bit. I have a meeting with Kurenai-sensei. I will see you someday. She stood up, and then left. You're cold. Don't say such cruel things, Ino. You'll hurt my feelings, he was saying that, but had an amused look on his face. He knew what she was talking about. But Ino has never seen just how Sasuke could be cruel and ungrateful. He wasn't going to let her go off so easy. He has been her hero since long and she had yet to learn to appreciate his efforts. She needed to sweat to earn his good graces. He wasn't that low on friends or heartbroken that he would simply brush off things because he wanted someone around him. Desperation would not rule him. It has never and never will. She first came me yesterday, but I didn't want to get involved. She came back today, and I felt sorry for her. She really does regret her actions. You must have really hit her hard for her to actually use her mind the right way. I did. Ino smiled proudly. Sakura is my friend and so are you. I don't want there to be problems between my friends when it can be avoided. I was lucky to have caught her while she was still reeling from Sasuke's rebuke. It also seems that Kakashi-sensei had some harsh words for her. Took long enough. He paused, staring at Ino. She had stayed behind because she wanted something from him. Ask, as you can see, I'm in need of rest. I came at a good time then. You'll answer me quickly because you want me to leave and then rest. Naruto groaned, rubbing his temple with his right hand. What he gotten himself into with this girl. She was going to be a nuisance if she didn't get her answers. You want to know about my parents? I suppose Kakashi-sensei didn't tell Sakura anything. Makes sense, he sighed, falling back on the couch. Physical tiredness was nothing compared to the mental one. It was most frustrating since the tiredness was being caused by things he was grasping straws just to understand. This house belonged to Minato Namikaze. And I am his son. Ino stared at him for a full moment. It didn't look as if she blinked. After that, she followed his posture. It kind of feels bad. It will be bad for Sakura. She has mocked you for not having parents and then suddenly realized that the reason your parents died was just so she could live. If not, this village could have been destroyed. Well, that is a look I want to see. To know that my parents saved your useless behind and I have continued doing it and you thank it all by mocking the deaths. Ino looked back at him with a sad smile. You sounded a little angry. Of course, I am. People don't know the truth, but the reality is I am the son of the man they hail so much as the greatest shinobi. I also took part in his greatness. My body was used to achieve his dream. Ino shook her head. The sad smile still lingered. She could understand the bitterness in Naruto. His own father was worshipped, yet he was loathed. He didn't have a choice and his father was the one who made the choice. She wondered if he even hated his own father for making him a Jinchuriki, for being the reason he had a miserable childhood. But who could have thought the Uzumaki Naruto was the surviving son of the Yellow Flash? It was ridiculous to imagine. Yet so real. Blonde hair. Blue eyes. How many blondes were in this village? Like Naruto. Sure, she too was blonde, but the light richness in Naruto's hair wasn't matched by anyone. That had to have been a trait he got from one of his parents. Ino had a lot to discuss with her father tonight, if he came home. How does it feel like to know that you're the son of the most famous Hokage in Konoha? And probably the most famous shinobi from the Konoha to have ever lived. Naruto stared into the ceiling. How did it feel? For him, he wasn't the son of the Hokage or Konoha's Yellow Flash. He was the son of Minato and Kushina. Nothing more and nothing less. He'd be better served to have parents to who actually alive, even if they were nobodies. He glanced back at Ino and smiled. Sure, it is a little exciting, but I can't be too happy. Nothing here changes. Because it has been kept secret. I'm sure things will change once people learn the truth, she smiled happily. You're more of a prince than Sasuke is. He is the last Uchiha, but his father didn't die to save the village. Nobody can top that. Naruto laughed at Ino's childlike response. It was so simple. Exactly how a child would look at the situation. But he didn't think he should look at it in that way. I suppose nobody can top it, he said with amusement. Well, it's a pity my secret is a secret. I would have had you fawning over me, calling me Namika-sama at the academy. No. Ino waved her hands quickly. Sasuke would have still been cute. What a way to ruin someone's moment. Naruto replied with a sigh. How do you think Kiba would respond? He's just going to bark with no bite. Maybe finally learn to respect you a bit, Ino answered quietly. Since we became shinobi, we've all been busy. We never even get the time to sit together and laugh. Your team is worse. When you come back, you spend a day and then go out again. Almost like you live for missions. We have a famous sensei and the last Uchiha. We'll always be picked for missions. It isn't like Asuma sensei isn't known around the shinobi world, Ino paused before adding. Well, it isn't like I enjoy going out of the village like you people. I enjoy my time around. And I'm fine with D-rank missions. It's a little dangerous outside. You can't run from that. I'm a child. Let me enjoy my childhood without fearing I won't return from a mission. Sakura would have already told her the kind of dangers they faced in their missions. Surely, Ino would be averse to such risks, and with someone as lazy as Shikamaru, there would be no rush for the growth. As experiences have taught him, you could never quite please everyone. Having lived a long life, full of mistakes and other things done right, Hiruzen could quite easily say he had learned it all. But with life, the learning never stopped. At this age, what he has attained was wisdom. Perhaps it was wisdom that made him decide to take a weaker position with Kumogakur. After all, there was that possibility that the Raikage could come true to his word and wage war against the Leaf. Or maybe the man had been taking advantage of the fact that Konoha had just suffered massively in the Kyuubi attack. Either way, his decision had saved the Leaf. But it had not made everyone happy. Neji was a great asset to the village. He was quite skilled. Hiruzen didn't agree with how the Hyuga clan dealt with its clan matters, but that was clan business and he had no right to interfere in anything. Still, Neji was a shinobi under him, not the Hyuga. Hiruzen glanced at Hyashi through the corner of his eyes while standing by the window of his office. After a moment, he slowly walked behind his desk and settled carefully. Thank you for coming, Hyashi. There is an important matter we must discuss. Hyashi stared, wondering what it could be. He hoped it had nothing to do with the caged bird seal. It was always a matter of interest with Sarutobi. But it was something Hyashi had found there and something he wasn't going to change. Maybe the next clan head could do so. Not him. What is it? Young Neji-kun, Hiruzen said in a serious tone. His hatred toward your daughter and everyone in the main branch is something that cannot be tolerated. He is already a chunin and does his work well for the village, however, his attitude is a problem. Hyashi narrowed his eyes. I hope you're not going to interfere in clan business. I have no intention of doing such. If I wanted, I could have gone to the Hyuga compound and talked to your elders. Not that it would have changed anything. No, the decision to sacrifice his father was taken because of what occurred. And we cannot pretend that we don't know why he is angry. He is already the best of his generation in your clan. Hyashi sighed. It wasn't that he hasn't thought of things. But Neji was stubborn as hell. The boy only looked at him with contempt. Even when he did try to make things easier. I gave Neji the honor of training my daughters because of how skilled he is. I also wanted to make things easier for him. He is my nephew. But he was merciless with Hinata. Not that his disappointing daughter did anything to protect herself. She refused to strike. Even with Hanabi. If he trained the next clan head, he would have high standing. He is already a genius that we cannot ignore, even if he is from the branch family. But his bitterness over being branded and the loss of his father weighs on him heavily. He cannot see a clear path in the future because of it. Yes, but the cursed seal cannot be removed. It is for the protection of the Byakugan. I don't want to get into that. But I want him to know the truth behind his father's death. Hiruzen released a long breath. In my eyes, he is similar to Naruto, with burdens. Though, his cannot be compared to Naruto-kun's. That is why I want to talk to him. And I need your help with that. Hyashi shook his head. He is my nephew. I have been negligent for long enough. I will talk to him. The clan head answered. But you want to use Naruto as an example. I heard that you have given him his father's house. Yes. Does he not hate us? We knew that his own father died to protect the village and he was treated like trash in the village. Your own clan sure symbolized this much. Hyashi grimaced. The people in his clan had surely taken things seriously, with the reputation. Even when Hinata had, like Naruto, she'd been repeatedly told to stay away from him. But they didn't know the truth. Surely, things would have been different. It wasn't like he'd done anything to better the situation either. He'd thought of his clan and nothing else. Unfortunately. But he has grown. Yes. And no, I don't believe Naruto hates us. As for the villagers, I don't think things are going to be that simple. He is loyal, but not desperate for their attention. He won't forget how they treated him. Some have already started to change. But the trauma is still there. He has nonetheless taken things seriously and is focused on making himself strong. The stone cast aside was surely going to be the one that would be used to build a stronger foundation for the future. Hyashi did not underestimate the power the blonde could wield in the future. He was now just a child, but he would soon become a household name. Another powerhouse the village would be proud of. This village did love the geniuses. A pity many of them have turned against Konoha. The thought of Neji turning against his clan sounded so ridiculous that he laughed it off. But even he couldn't dismiss the possibility. There was nothing the clan offered Neji. His own nephew. He had to change things. For the better. I will send him to you once I have spoken to him. I will appreciate it. We must help the young ones, Hyashi. They easily lose themselves. Orochimaru had problems even at a young age, but I could not quite help him. Sasuke also has issues, and is in a fragile situation. That is why we are taking all measures possible to try to help them. For they are the future of this village. Without them, the future won't look bright. Truly, this generation had many weak shinobi. Konoha would certainly lose its honor as the strongest of the great nations. They would certainly become suspect to invasions. The leaf has not always been on the side of right in the past. In fact, it had always abused its position as the strongest. How far the village fell from the principles of the Shodai Hokage. When was the last time Naruto had ramen with the Sandaime? He'd missed those days. To feel loved and cared for. Despite everything, he could never doubt that the old man loved him. If there had been any doubts, Naruto didn't think they'd still be friendly. He'd do his job as a shinobi of the leaf and that would be all. But he knew. He understood. Not the choices but that the old man had loved him. It was just difficult to reconcile with everything that has happened. The secrets. The lies. The pain and the suffering. Naruto had felt talking to the Sandaime didn't change anything but just made things worse. Answer, he'd kept to himself. Naive decision. The mind couldn't hold on to everything without releasing. But still, running back to the old man like family wasn't an option. For this, he'd been invited. With his pending departure from the village, it wasn't unexpected and Naruto thought it best to indulge the old man. They'd eaten in silence. Naruto didn't complain. It didn't seem like the old man wanted to speak either. After that, Hiruzen had asked him to follow him. It wasn't for the first time that Naruto was taking a stroll through the streets with the old man. Many had whispered negative things about it. But it hadn't changed anything. Maybe then he'd considered sticking out his tongue out. You haven't been leaving the house lately. A statement but Naruto felt there was an unasked question. Been busy trying to learn about Fuinjutsu. Admittedly, I find it difficult to grasp. Hiruzen smiled. Both your parents were exceptional Fuinjutsu masters. It does seem to come natural for Uzumaki. More than anything, your mother's clan was famous for their use of the sealing art. A legacy that I shall fail to top. Naruto replied bitterly. He wasn't going to spend his time cooped up in Fuinjutsu scrolls. He was a Mokuton user. And he would focus on perfecting his control over it. Mokuton. Yeah. Naruto nodded in a quiet tone. For a moment, it felt like the streets had become quiet. Like there was no one and it was just him and the Sandaime Hokage. Well, I'll get the hang of it eventually. I'll take some scrolls with me. I'm still a brat, so there is always time for me to learn as time goes on. Hiruzen nodded in agreement. I've also learned. If you need any help, I will assist. Is there anything you did not learn? To be not impressed by the third was ignorance. The old man's knowledge when it came to ninjutsu was envious. He knew everything. It was no wonder he produced students such as the Sannin. Hiruzen chuckled lightly. Ninjutsu and Fuinjutsu don't always help in every situation. When it comes to battle, it is about finding the right balance. If you are a fire user, there is a challenge when you meet a wind or water user. It was always best to have an alternative. I've noticed. Fire works against me. Not only that but you can always use it to work for you. If you come across a skilled fire user, to escape weakness, you use Mokuton in conjunction with fire. While it takes away the destructive raw power of Mokuton, it gives you more burning power and lasting flames. Naruto was thoughtful for a couple of moments. He didn't even know which of his element was. Never thought of that. And never thought of using other elemental jutsu. The focus has always been Mokuton. Naruto released a long breath. He could learn other things. He had the clones and he would have the time. If you know your weakness, you can always use it to your advantage. Hiruzen said wisely. But even when your focus is on Mokuton, you have been doing well. It makes me proud. We have always wanted another Mokuton user. Not in such circumstances, but one was always wanted. Yamato is rather limited in his abilities despite Danzo's best efforts to train him. Even after stealing some of the Shodai's scrolls. I suppose one thing I have in common with the Shodai is the large reserves of chakra. It does make it possible to use the other ridiculous jutsu that require a lot of chakra, Naruto explained lightly. It didn't take long before they reached the memorial stones. They stopped in front of the Yondaime stone. In its presence, Naruto sat down, legs folded, and stared at it. His father was buried there. Then where was his mother? A reminder of Kabuto talking about digging her up made him silently seethe. Whether the Sandaime noticed was a question to be asked. I wanted nothing more than for you to be treated as a hero. I was naive of course. But I also think it would have been possible. It nevertheless should have been me who died that night. Minato was still young in his reign. He should have let me sacrifice myself. I'd already lived long enough. Done enough for the village. Dying so that he may continue would have been best for the village. Some of the tragedies that have occurred may not have even occurred, Hiruzen said in a somber tone. Naruto listened and understood. It was always something he'd sensed. He didn't offer a response. It didn't seem like the Sandaime wanted one as he continued speaking. I know we've not done anything to earn your loyalty. This village has truly wronged you and still continues to do so. I'm at fault. I'm the leader and I have failed to lead effectively. But I don't want you to hate us, Hiruzen chuckled with bitterness. It would be wrong to say in the memory of your parents. Your mother died to protect you. Your father the village. You didn't have to suffer the way you did. Naruto looked up into the clear sky for a long moment before bringing his eyes down to the stone. I used to cry, thinking it's not fair that such has to happen to me. What wrong did I do? I know I did nothing wrong. And that makes it difficult for me. I always wanted to be loved. To be wanted. But after Orochimaru, I just stopped wanting attention or anything. It was hard. Coming back home didn't do favors. I felt unwelcomed. The sadness in Naruto's voice broke Hiruzen. But I'm still here. To have friends is exciting. People you can chat with. People you can play with, well, train with in my case. Back at the academy, we always shared our dreams. The common one was of course being Hokage. But I always thought to myself, what is my dream? Usually, it was nothing grand. But just to be home. Loved by those around me and to have my existence acknowledged. That was all I'd asked for then. Maybe I still do. I don't hate this village. But as a consequence, I've just accepted things. I accept the world is cruel. I accept people can be unjust at times. I've become defeated. Yet, I want to rise above that. It's difficult. It's difficult to dream. While alone at that house, I wish I was a child. I wish my mother was there to scold me for staying up too late while studying. I wish she was there to cook me dinner. To wake me up in the morning to do my chores. It is all just sad thoughts. But I don't hate the villagers. I'm just sad, and really wish to be happy. To be free. To be able to have a grand dream. Is that too much to ask? It is not, Naruto. It is not. I thought as much. That is why I'm looking forward to tomorrow. He smiled. And Gigi, this ability is not because of Orochimaru. It is an ability of mine. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.